go ahead and do a remake of the Facebook Live post I did the other day. For some reason, it cut off halfway through, and I had to restart it again. So I'm a little bit more familiar with YouTube, so I thought I'd just come back and redo it on YouTube. We're going to go ahead and make this card today. I had a request from one of my friends who wanted to know how to make these cards. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how to do that. Hopefully you can do it quickly. Let's go ahead and start with making the card base. We're going to take a piece of 8.5 by 11 white paper and our paper cutter. And we're going to go ahead and cut that in half the long way. So you're going to put it at 4 1/4. You're going to cut it down the middle. Okay. So now you have two card bases. So we're going to put one aside because we won't need that. We're going to go ahead and take this one piece that we have left. We're going to fold it in half. I'm going to take a bone folder. We're going to crease that. Okay. And there you go. You have one card base top folding that we're going to do. Okay. Next, we're going to need a embossing folder. This embossing folder, I think I must have gotten... Actually, I think I got this one at a secondhand shop. They had them on sale there, and I just grabbed a bunch. But this one has bubbles and dots on them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bring out my Sizzix Big Kick. My Sizzix Big Cut. And we're going to go ahead and emboss this. To do that, you need to take your plates off your platform. Open it up to tab 2, which is for the embossing. You're going to put down your bottom plate, my well-loved bottom plate there. We're going to go ahead and take the embossing folder and the card base. We're going to open up the embossing folder and we're going to open up the card base. We want the front portion of the card to go into the embossing folder. And what I do is I like to just sort of line it up with the edge of the folder here. Okay, we don't want the back side of the card embossed, just the front. So go ahead and we're going to line it up, close it, put it down on the platform, take our top plate, put that over the folder, and we're going to crank it through the machine. And I usually go in till I hear it pop, knowing that it's gone past the embossing folder, and back out again. That way I can make sure I get a nice deep emboss. Okay. All right, go ahead and pull that out. We'll set this aside. Now, when you open up the embossing folder, you'll see that you have nice embossed raised area. If you flip it over, you'll see a debossed side where the marks are going down into the paper. So we're going to flip it over to the raised side, and there is our card front. We're going to go ahead and set this aside, the embossing folder aside. We're done with that now. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab my die cut. This is a die cut that I got at the secondhand place where I think I got the embossing folder. So any embossing folder will work. Basically, you're going to be making a frame shape in the front of your card. So anything that you have will work. If you wanted to do a heart shape, you could do a heart shape. If you wanted to do a circle, you could do a circle or an oval. But on this particular card, I did this rectangle shape. This is nice because this rectangle shape, as you can see on the die cut here, has little stitch lines. So it's a faux stitch that we're going to make on this frame. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring over the Big Kick machine. And because we're going to be die cutting, I will put it on a different page of the platform. I'm going to go ahead and put it on page 2, which is for the die cutting. Same thing here. We're going to make a sandwich. We're going to go ahead and take the bottom plate and put that down on the platform. We're going to take our card front, open it up, set it right here on the platform on the bottom plate. We're going to take our die, put it face down on the front of the card, where we think we would like our little window and frame to be. So we sort of eyeball it, figure out where we want it to be. And because this is a bumpy surface, I sometimes like to put a little piece of washi tape down onto the die cut so that it doesn't slip and slide anywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and put just a little piece of washi tape down and around that. That way it won't slide around when I go to put on my top plate. Okay, so there's the top plate. I'm going to go ahead and feed this through the machine. We hear that pop sound. That means it's gone over the die cut. I'm going to crank it back. Okay, take off the top plate. Take off our card base. We're going to go ahead and set this die cut machine aside for a second. Okay. So on here, you'll see that the die that we cut will pop out, and you're left with a little frame area on the front of your card. We're going to go ahead and peel off the die. And we'll put the tape back over here on the die cut machine for use for next time. We're going to pop out the middle and set it aside because we're not going to need this anymore. You want, you can save it for another card, or you can toss it, whatever you want to do. When you flip the die over, you'll see that there's a frame here. We actually want to save that, or take that part out as well. We're not going to need that. Sometimes they're hard to get out. I just like to smack it on my desk, and it eventually starts falling out. So we're going to go ahead and you can save this too, or you can toss it because it'd be good to use for another card. Okay. So now we have the opening in the front of our card. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put in the frame that we want to use. We're going to make a green frame, and we're going to use a piece of pattern paper on the inside. So we're going to make this. To do that, we're going to go ahead and take a piece of green paper, and we're going to take a piece of pattern paper. I don't have any more of that balloon paper that I had on my original card, so I'm going to go ahead and use this pattern paper with cupcakes instead. I thought that would be fun for a birthday as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to take these two items and set them down here. We're going to bring in the Big Kick again, and we're going to die cut one more time, just like we did with the front of the card. So take off the top plate. We're going to take both these cards. This can cut through 2 layers if they're really thin. So we're going to go ahead and take 2 layers. We'll set it down here on the bottom plate. We'll go ahead and put down the die cut and put a little bit of tape here just to prevent it from sliding around too much. Take the top plate, put the top plate on, and feed it through the machine. There's that. It's a little thicker, so you'll hear sort of a pop sound. That's okay. It will do that. Go ahead and you'll hear it pop again as you get to the other side of the die. Pass it back through again. There we go. Take off your top plate, take your papers off. Let's put this back here and we'll move it aside. Now the same thing, you're left with 2 rectangles and your die cut, which you can now put that tape back over here. And you're left with 2 pieces of paper that you can go ahead and set these aside and use them for another card if you'd like to, or you can toss them. Hang on to these 2. Inside here, you're going to have 2 frames, one green and one with the patterned paper. So let me go ahead and beat the frames out of my die cut. So now we have 2 frames and 2 middles. You're going to bring back in your card front. Okay. Now we have a hole here, so if we go to put these back in, they're not going to attach to anything. They're going to attach to the inside. So if we want it to look like there was a hole there, we're going to need to put something on the back of this opening. Okay. So what I do is I take another piece, a quarter piece of paper that's white, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this inside to the back. Now the other option is, if you didn't want to do that, you could very easily take your frame and glue it in here along with your backing. That way, when you opened it, it would be just a window. But it seemed kind of flimsy to me. So I wanted to make it look a little bit sturdy, more sturdy. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this piece of white paper. We're going to sort of line it up here on the back of the front of the card. Okay, and I'm going to take a pencil with a little tick mark here. Just make a little line where I need to cut this paper because it's the same size as the card front. I'm going to go ahead and take my cutter. And we're going to cut right where those little lines are. Okay. I'm going to throw away those little scraps. Now you have one that will fit directly over the opening. So I'm going to go ahead and take my tape gun and I'm going to put some adhesive just on the edges here of the paper. Pardon me, I have some allergies going today. And we're going to go ahead and lay this right over the opening on the inside of the card. Okay. So now when you turn it over, the card no longer has the opening, but it does have a little raised edge from where you cut out these other things previously. So now we're going to go ahead, set that aside. We're not going to need that for a while. We're going to go ahead and take this. We're going to go ahead and use, let's use this green one here. And we're going to go ahead and take some glue. Let me see if my glue is working today. I think I might be almost out, but let me just double check here. Let's see if my glue's out. Oh, got a little bit in there. Oh, splodged out. Something I learned from British Baking Show, splodged. I'm going to go ahead and put a little layer of glue here. I don't want glue all over my fingers, so I'm going to use my reverse tweezers here to pick it up. Okay. And we're going to place it, inlay it, if you will, into the little square opening. This is good because it sort of gives you a guide of where this needs to go back into. It's like a puzzle piece. You know, you're putting in a puzzle piece and lining it up and lightly pushing down. Okay, so now you've got your frame inside. Now let's go ahead and put in this fun pattern paper. We're going to inlay it, same thing right in here. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. Now these ones you could take and set aside and use for another card. If you decided you wanted to make another one, you've got the middle already for the next set. Okay, but I'm going to set those aside. Okay, let's get the tape and the glue. And let's go ahead and glue that down. Don't want too much because you don't want it oozing out the edges. Okay, my tweezers, don't need them this time. And we're going to go ahead and inlay that right into the center, and you'll feel it pop into place because you'll feel the edges. Okay, so here's where we are. Okay, so we've got the background and we've got the frame. The next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to go ahead and make the cupcake and the banner and to put on the front of the card. So let's go ahead and we're going to do that. This is going to involve some die cutting also and some stamping. So we'll go ahead and set our card base aside. And for this, we're going to need a stamp set. And I have this stamp set here that I got at Michael's. It's a Recollections one. And it has a fun little stamp, sentiment, and a little die cut. So, the die cut came for just the frosting. It didn't come for the bottom of the cupcake, but that's okay. It's an easy shape to cut out. So we're going to go ahead and stamp and cut these things out here. What I'm going to do is on the frosting, I want to go ahead and I want to stamp it on some brown paper to make it look like chocolate frosting so I don't have to color it in. So we're going to go ahead and take a quarter piece of white paper and a quarter piece of craft or brown paper, whatever brown you'd like. If you don't want to use brown paper, you can just stamp the cupcake frosting on white and color it in if you want to do that. But I'm going to be a little lazy here and I'm going to go ahead and use the brown and the white. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull the stamp set out. Take off the die because we'll need that. I'll go ahead and take off the cupcake liner and the cupcake frosting. Go ahead and set that one aside. Then I also used in this set, this stamp set. This is by Gina K. I won these at some sort of crafting event. We're going to go ahead and take out the Happy Birthday banner. stamp. Okay. And we'll take out the matching die, if I can find it. Oh, here it is. The matching die that goes with that banner. Okay, we'll set these aside till we're done with them. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move the dies aside, careful not to lose them. And we're going to take the stamps that we're going to use on the white, which is the banner and the cupcake liner. And we're going to take the one that we're doing on the chocolate color, the brown paper, and I'm going to put that there. Next, I'm going to bring out my stamping platform. This is, these stamps are normally used with little acrylic blocks, but sometimes when you're stamping a bunch of things like this, it's better to use a stamping positioner. It's not necessary, but I like using my stamping positioner. Let me show you how this puppy works. So you've got a glass door here, a plastic door here. You've got two magnets and a sheet of paper here. And underneath this, there is some foam. And this foam, because these are acrylic, they help cushion and make a better stamp. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this piece of brown paper. We're going to set it here in the machine, the MISTI. We're going to put a magnet at one end here and one end here so they don't go flying or the paper doesn't fly around. We're going to place the chocolate frosting here on the paper, just where we want it to stamp. We're going to shut the door and press down. And what this does is it picks up the stamp on the door. Now we're going to go ahead and take our ink pad. And I think for this, because it's chocolate icing, I'll take my brown ink pad. This is a Memento brown ink pad. It doesn't matter which kind of stamping you want to do. If you want to just do it in black, if you want to do it in white, whatever you want to do. I'm going to do it in brown because I want it to look like chocolate frosting. So we'll go ahead and we'll stamp that down onto the stamp on the door. Okay. Once we think we have it stamped nicely, we'll go ahead and shut the door and sort of push down on the lid. Okay. And that will make a nice stamp for us. Now on this side over here, it's a little lighter than over here. If you wanted to make the stamp image a little darker, you could then open your door, re-stamp the ink pad again, the ink onto the stamp again. Okay. Shut the door, push down, and it comes out a lot brighter. Now this is great because this is going to stay the same place every time. This has a lot of empty space on it, so if I wanted to, I could take this paper and I could rotate it, put the magnets down, re-stamp again, and I'd get this again on the paper. You're only rotating the paper, not the stamp. So the stamp will always be in that same place. Now, for instance, if I want to rotate back to this, all I need to do is put it back into this position again, stamp up my ink pad, close the door, press down, and because this was in the same position every time, I don't have to worry about it restamping it and having it become fuzzy or stamped in the wrong place. So I highly recommend these positioners. They're really great. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean off my stamp and set that aside. We won't need that for now. Take out this paper and we're going to go ahead and put in the piece of white paper, the quarter sheet. Put it down. We're going to do the same exact thing, but on white paper. Now we're going to go ahead and do this happy birthday banner and this cupcake liner in green. So let's go ahead and put these here, however you want them. Shut the door, press down, and you'll see it picks up here automatically. Let's get the green stamp pad. Okay, we're going to go ahead and ink those up on the door. Shut the door, press down. Okay, I think this is a little light here. I could probably do better. And it looks like I missed maybe a little spot here. Not to worry because this is in the same exact place as the first time I stamped it. So I can re-ink. Shut the door, re-stamp again. Okay, again, I'm sort of not pressing down very well right here. So we'll go ahead and shut the door again. Sort of push down here a little bit better. There you go. Now it's becoming clear. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe off my stamps on the door. I'm going to go ahead and peel them off of the door and set them aside. Okay. Now we're done with our stamping. So the next step is to cut these things out, okay? So we'll set the MISTI aside. We'll go ahead and bring in the Big Kick one more time, and we're gonna do some die cutting. Just like we did at the beginning with the frame. You're gonna go ahead and put it on the platform, the bottom plate. You're gonna take the thing that you need to die cut. In this case, we're gonna go ahead and die cut just this. We're gonna go ahead and cut this. I don't have a die cut for this here, but like I said, it's easy to cut out. We'll lay that on there. We'll take the banner die. This sometimes is hard to line up. So let me go ahead and just put it down here a little closer where I can see it and line it up. Okay. Once I have it where I want it to be, I'm going to take a little piece of tape here and put it over the die and set it on my tray, on my plate. Okay. Now I have this other one that we needed to cut as well, and we can cut more than one thing at once. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to take this die, we're going to put it around this stamped image. Okay. You just line it up, eyeball it, trying to get it fairly even around the edges. You're going to take a piece of washi tape. It's low tack, so it doesn't stick to the paper too badly. Put it in. We're going to go ahead and put our top plate on, and we're going to feed this through the machine. Okay, we're going to feed it back through. For some reason, I like to start on the left side. It's harder to do it on this side going the other way for me. So I always leave it in that position. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take these off. We're going to set our machine aside. And we're going to go ahead and peel off the tape very gently. Set the tape aside for next time. And now we have one die cut piece here. If you didn't like that extra white around the border, you could take some scissors and just cut it off. But I'm fine with it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. I'm going to go ahead and set the die aside so I don't lose it. I'll put it on a little magnetic sheet I have over here so I don't lose it. Okay, we're going to take off the frosting. Same thing, remove the tape. Put it back on the machine. We're going to set the die cut aside so I don't lose it. Okay, I'm going to pop that out. So now we have our frosting and we have our banner. The only thing left now is the cupcake liner. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that out because I don't have a die cut for it. But like I said, it's easy to do. Okay. Just shot off of there really fast. And I'm not even going to bother going up and down in each of these cuts because the frosting, when I place it on top, is going to sort of cover it up anyway. So it's not necessary to go through all that hassle. I really hate fussy cutting. I know a lot of crafters don't mind, but I kind of just really don't like it. But I'll do it if I need to. Okay. Let's clean up this side here. Now, I could have stamped this on some green paper. That way I wouldn't have to color it in. But today I'm going to go ahead and do it on white paper because I want to show you one more technique that I've done in a video before. And that's coloring and then blending with colored pencils and then blending with Gamsol. So let me go ahead and color this in. I'm going to go ahead and take one of my Prismacolor pencils. Let's see, I'm going to use this lighter one. And I'm going to go ahead and color it in roughly. It doesn't matter. You know, I don't want to get in there and get all the details. I can just put down a coat really quickly over it. Okay. When you look at it, you can see all these little streaks and lines. I don't know if you can see that in there, but there's little streaks and lines for me doing that because I didn't go slowly and blend it nicely with my pencil. Not a problem. What I like to do is use this stuff. It's called Gamsol. It's an odorless mineral spirit. And you should use it in a ventilated room because it does have a smell. I can't smell it, but others can smell it. Gonna go ahead and use that. And then these little blender stumps. These are little paper stumps that you can take, dip into the Gamsol, soak the end a little bit, okay, and then take it and you're going to run it over where you colored. And what this is going to do, I don't know if you can see it, what it's going to do is it's going to sort of brighten up the color, make it a little bit bolder, but it's also going to sort of blend it too. So it's smooth instead of all these streaky lines. it's going to blend it and make it smooth. It's also great too because if you did one or two different colors, like a lighter and a darker color, you would get a better blend of the two colors together. Okay, if it gets dry, just dip it back into the Gamsol, run it back over your image, and I'm just going to loosely color this. That background paper on the card is going to really pop and won't be as noticeable, but it doesn't have to be perfect. But it's an extra step that you need to do, and it's not necessary. It's just I like it. I think it looks prettier when it's blended like that. So I'll go ahead and close this up because I don't want to spill that. I have done that before. Set our pencils aside. Now we have our items that we're going to put on our card front. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to show you how we're doing this. So now we're going to go ahead and mount these things to the front of the card. So we're going to go ahead and take our card base back out. We're going to take our items here. In my case, I'm going to use this Xyron sticker machine. What it is a little tiny machine that when you feed these through the slot and you pull a little tab on the side, it goes through the machine and makes it sticky backed. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that. Or if you want, you can use glue. It's not a big deal. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do glue on that one. So you take my glue, and we're just going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue down along the top edge of the cupcake liner. We don't need much because we're just going to take our frosting and gently place it over the top. The glue is great because it gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you put it on a little cockeyed, like I did the other day. Well, it looks like I might have today too, but you can go ahead and move it around the way you want it to be. Okay. I don't want tape on the back of this because what we're going to do, like you can see on here, is we're going to pop it up. Instead of it being flat, which is good for mailing, but you can also mail things that are popped up a little bit on dimensional, and it looks really cute when it's popped up. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to take our cupcake, I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to get a piece of foam tape. This is really cheap. You can find this at like any craft store, but it's a thin foam double-sided tape, and you're going to cut off a little snippet of it. You're going to go ahead and stick it on the back of the cupcake. Peel it off. I did just cut my fingernails the other day, so this might be hard to get off. And we're going to figure out where we want it to go. Now on this one here, I sort of centered it in the middle. I just sort of eyeballed it. Wasn't that big a deal. Okay. And let's put it right about here. Now we're going to go ahead and take the other piece that we put through the Xyron machine. We're going to peel off the top. Toss that aside to the trash. I'm going to peel off the little banner. Now this I'm not going to pop up. I like it a little bit flat against the front of the card. And we're going to take it and we're going to wedge it sort of up underneath the cupcake here. That's why I say the white border doesn't matter so much. But we're going to center it. And then we're going to lay it down and it's going to automatically stick. Okay. So there we are with the front of our card. Okay. Now on here, I have some little glittery dots. This is like a liquid glue stickle that we're going to put on it, but it takes a few minutes to dry. So we're going to do this step last. So now we're going to go ahead and do the inside of the card. We're going to open up our card. We're going to take and do like this. We're going to go ahead and take a piece of green paper and we're going to put it down on the base and we're going to sort of eyeball it because we're going to need to trim some of this off because it's the same size. It's a quarter piece of paper. It's the same size as our card base here, as you can see. So we're going to sort of just put it down here so that there's a little 1/8 inch border around all sides. Obviously not here, so we're going to go ahead and tick mark it where we want it to be. Yeah, right about there, I guess. Okay. I'm going to bring out my cutter. We're going to go ahead and cut where those tick marks are. Toss those little scraps in the trash, unless you want to save them for something. And then we're going to take one more piece of white quarter card stock, and we're going to go ahead and place it over the green. Okay. And when we do that, we're going to take a pencil and do sort of the same thing. We're going to make a 1/4 inch border, or an 1/8 of an inch border. So go ahead and mark it there and here. We're going to go ahead and trim it down. Okay, so now that we have a little border in here. Now on the original card here, you can see that I've done a corner. I've rounded the corners on these. That is up to you if you decide you want to corner round them. But when I corner round them, what I do is I take the pieces of paper and my corner chomper, and this has a 1/4 inch rounder and a 1/2 inch rounder. We're going to use the 1/4 inch rounder. And we're going to go ahead and take our paper and set it into the corner chomper. It comes up, butts up against these two edges. And you're going to squeeze it down. Mine seems to be having problems lately. And it's going to round that corner for you. I'm going to go around and do the second corner. So we're going to round just the bottom 2 corners of the card. Okay, so there's our white piece. We're going to do the same thing with the green piece. Green piece. That's pretty fun. Okay. Okay, I'm going to chomp those down. Next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to adhere these 2 together. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to take my tape gun. You can use glue or whatever you want. We're going to run the glue or the tape around the edges. And we're going to place the white card onto the green card. Okay, just like that. Next, we're going to go ahead and put this green and white card onto our base, on the inside of our base. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this piece, put some glue or tape around the edges. We're almost done. We're almost done. We're going to go ahead and place it down inside the card. Center it. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and take the card, close it, take our corner chomper on the 1/4 inch setting, put the card into it, both sides, okay, it's closed shut. We're going to put it in and we're going to chomp those corners. So now when you open it, you'll have the rounded corner there as well. Okay. Really quickly, we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment in the center. And for that, that was that cupcake set that I showed you earlier. It has that sentiment on it. We're going to go ahead and peel it off. Now, you can use the acrylic block, and I'm just going to go ahead and do an acrylic block this time as opposed to the stamp positioner, because I'm pretty good at doing these ones on the inside. But if you feel comfortable using the positioner, you can do that too. So you're going to go ahead and slap it on to the clear block. Okay. We're going to use some black ink. I'm going to stamp it into the black ink. If you want to do a test or a practice to see if you're getting it inked up well, pull out one of your scraps that you used and just practice stamping.